Yeah, the disclaimer is really relevant to what we just experienced in this. At best, describe it 6.5 hours to 10 hours of pretty much single player narrative. I really try to find some. No, I really try to find some positive, but I also want to keep a fair, unbiased, what I found was the negative in terms of always solely the game. So, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time zone you're in. Well, this is not a walkthrough, this is not a playthrough. No one can blame me, and no one can say that I didn't try to give it 110%. I'm at 90% of 100%. There's no platinum for this game, but I pretty much completed 90% of this game, and it wasn't even my favorite game compared to Devil May Cry 5, and I haven't even played It Takes Two, since that's also leaving January 16. This was not my favorite game. In fact, if I had to rank it, I imagine it would have been Devil May Cry 5, It Takes Two, and then this game. Not that it's a knock against this game, but I feel like those two games are just going to be stronger compared to this one. Not saying that this one is bad. So, guess what? This is the verdict video. So, I really tried to make some notes of what really drew out me about this game. I like it, but I do see that there are flaws with it. So, now, let's just kind of get straight to it and explain what I give it out of 10. 8 out of 10. 8 out of 10. Even I'm pleasantly surprised that I give it an 8 out of 10. Okay, so let's talk about the negative. But let's actually give a little bit of background. And I'm sorry, this is going to be a spoiler alert. This is going to be a major spoiler. So if you haven't finished the missing, sorry, you're going to be spoiled the crap out of it. And I'm going to be straight up. Okay, so let's actually just talk about it. I read a little bit of this on tvtropes.org, and it's probably on Wikipedia, and also Google, too. Apparently, JJ is specifically a trans girl. More specifically, and I'm trying to find, like, a little bit more context, too. Apparently, JJ is a young woman with flowing golden hair and fashionable clothing, which we saw in the photos. And I'm reading this from tvtropes.org, so don't take this as face value. But in reality, she's a pre-transitional trans woman with short black hair. Through pretty much though gallery images reveal she actually bought the outfit she's shown wearing while on an outing with Emily. And that would make sense. That makes a whole lot of sense. Now, let's actually get to the verdict video. I think basically I can explain what theories about the story and all that, but I think that would take all day, so let's just get straight to the point. So, the negative about basically the missing JJ and the Island of Memories. Huh, funny. Yeah, I thought I could get used to the voice acting. I thought it was decent by the beginning. I thought I was going to get used to the voice acting. The voice acting is trash. Nothing against the voice acting. Nothing at all. But it's trash. It just... in terms of the one who's actually was trying to give it all, in terms of the voice acting, I guess JJ, the male version, I think they tried a little bit, but no, the voice acting is trash, and basically whenever JJ was called out for Emily, it just reminded me of pretty much Ethan Mars from Heavy Rain, like, Jason, all the freaking time. It wasn't like horrible, but it was kind of slightly annoying, and I just couldn't get behind the voice acting. You could tell that these actors and actresses are definitely new to the voice acting. That's not a nod on the game itself, but the voice acting I couldn't get right behind. I just couldn't. I tried. I really tried. I really tried to keep an open mind on the voice acting. But no, it was trash and I couldn't get used to it. So that's one negative off. But, okay. The other one that it will turn it will turn people off from this game, especially if you're renting it or you bought it at sales price. The other thing that will turn people away from this game, unfortunately, is there are some major gameplay oddities. So, case in point, the square is literally calling out to Emily and also to mess with the lever and to push crates. But if you press the button in the wrong way, it will just call Emily over and over, and the voice acting's horrible in the first place. So you accidentally hit the square, you're gonna call Emily, and then you have to deal with that voice acting all the freaking time. I could deal with some of the gameplay oddities, but it was weird just kind of using the square for just like pushing and all that. And then it's also you're kind of calling in Emily. It got annoying very fast. I thought that was pretty odd. That's the only one that I noticed that was kind of a big deal, and I was just like, I was like, that's so odd, and I can't get used to it. Everything else in terms of the other gameplay it was great. That was just the only thing I noticed in terms of that. And another thing I cannot ignore was the game towards the very, very, very end, like the final chapter. The game sadly broke, or the game literally was getting to a pivotal scene, and then the game crashed too many times. It was like 3 times. I had to basically restream, not exactly. I didn't upload my previous 2 streams, but I had to restream and do a 3rd attempt 3 times because the game crashed on me. I can deal with game crashing bugs if a lot of things were happening, but nothing was happening besides that pivotal scene, and the game decided to crash on me. I thought that was I thought that was late. The developers had time to clean that up, and it didn't get cleaned up. That's pretty freaking much. So those are kind of my only negatives, and I think that's pretty generous for all the things. I could have said that the visuals are kind of like drab and nothing inspiring in terms of that. The graphics are nothing to write home about. But I don't think it's worth mentioning in terms of that. I don't think it's like a huge big deal. And in terms of those 3 things, the missing clearly knows that basically it's not a hot mess, but it knows it's not visually stunning. I mean, this is not the best looking graphics. I've seen the best looking graphics with Devil May Cry 5. So, moving on. Now, the reason why I get 8 out of 10, the positive. It's a very engrossing and personal story about a trans woman in terms of JJ. It's literally a very personal, engrossing, and slightly inspiring story about a trans woman. That's really all I can say. Throughout the whole story, the story in itself is well paced. You really get a sense of who JJ is, pretty much through the text messages, but in terms of the story itself, it's about accepting yourself. No matter what society thinks of you, and basically when you're bullied all the freaking time, just accept yourself and love yourself. And if you have a support system, definitely try to have a support system. Or I am not an expert in terms of what a trans woman or trans man has been going through. But what kept me going in terms of the story was just kind of learn about JJ's struggles. It was shown in symbolism throughout the entire environment, and the story is just well done and well paced, because you really don't know what the hell is going on at the very beginning, but as you pretty much go throughout the story breadcrumbs are too well done and very fleshed out for this type of story. And also in terms of the story that I will give the highest praise for, and I want to also make sure I'm recording, I like that they basically tackle taboo subject matter that really doesn't, like I said in some other videos, they really tackle taboo subject matter that really doesn't get touched. Pretty much transgender, they don't really touch that in video games that much. They do, but they're usually supporting characters, or they mention that they're transgender, but they don't have a transgender protagonist front and center. I actually appreciate it because it's a very refreshing and change of pace. Sometimes you gotta think outside the box and not just play the kind of the straight person or the homosexual person. It's not that we don't have homosexual protagonists. We have plenty of them. We do, in spades. But we don't really have a lot of transgender protagonists. Yeah, I think it was a great change of pace, refreshing, and just the fact that the story really just kind of made the story very relatable for transgender. I think, yeah, kudos on that. And the fact that they basically talked about suicide, which is it's a heartbreaking and sad fact, but suicide it's a serious matter. It's a serious matter, and this game did not shy away from it. They didn't show, but they clearly talked about it in graphic detail about suicide. So yeah, just the fact that they talked about very taboo subject matter, I think that was pretty. I think they had balls. I think they had balls to do that, and they stood their ground, and they did it. Even though the game wasn't like received extremely well, just the fact that they decided to go with those type of stories and that subject matter, yeah, kudos on you guys for taking the stand and kind of taking the risk. I probably couldn't. I wouldn't do that, but yeah, kudos on that. Alright, another positive in this is going to be one of my short reviews. I'm kind of surprised. The text messages are the strongest writing in this game, period. Even if it's like lighthearted with FK, you know why the text messages are really the strongest point and why they make the story much better than it should be? It's because the dialogue between pretty much JJ's support system, family and friends, are just too fleshed out. These feel like real people. Pretty much JJ responded to them, or the friend or family member just responded to them too. It's natural, it's organic. It feels real, it feels relatable. Whenever someone just says something rude, or when someone feels emotionally vulnerable, or someone gives a life lesson, it just feels like these are people just really speaking from the heart. And that's a testament for the developers and the team behind this. They really took the time to kind of flesh out the characters. I like the characters in the text messages. When it was just JJ and Emily in, like, you know, in the flesh, I couldn't get, like, it was the voice acting. It was absolutely voice acting. That kind of took me out so many times. But when it was the text messages, front and center, when it was the text messages, I loved it. I loved every second of the text messages. From the beginning to the end, the text messages were the strongest point. And it just really fleshed out JJ and all the characters in very profound and very interesting ways. So yeah, kudos and very, 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 very strong writing in terms of the text messages. I think they're the highlight, and if games do text messages to this caliber in the future, I welcome it. I very much welcome it. Yeah, text messages were text messages were the strong suit. That's definitely it. Another positive in terms of this. I know, I'm just getting out of the doubt. That's why I took notes. The puzzle design and the level design, really the puzzle design, where it was unique but very brutal in terms of that. Case in point, you have to literally cut off your hand, and you're basically in a lumberyard. You collected 9 pieces. You have to literally cut your hand, use the other hand to swap it over, and then basically take the crane and try to move yourself to the next platform to move on a level. You can basically get twisted. Why do I say that? You literally use your body parts. But I liked, once you played the story, JJ is intentionally hurting themselves in the puzzles because they just feel like they're being ostracized by their society and being bullied because Princess packs extra. That is so offensive. It's absolutely offensive. Well, that's what I mean. It shows not just in the story and the text messages of JJ's mindset, it's in the gameplay too. JJ is intentionally doing self-harm through the puzzles. I didn't catch on to that until I played further in the game. This entire game, before JJ goes back into reality is JJ's literally self-harming, and that is it's a very serious and sad, very sad. But yeah, it really translates the kind of like the passion and that they have for this project really translates very well in terms of the level design and the gameplay, because you literally have to hurt yourself to progress the plot. And in doing hurting yourself all the freaking time, you're just kind of adding to that suicidal urges, sadly, in terms of the story, not real life. So yeah, just the fact that you have to burn yourself to burn the vines, or you have to pretty much break your neck to turn the switch. The possibilities in terms of the puzzles are pretty much limitless, and it was very surprising. Even I was surprised. Yeah, the puzzles were very... Yeah, they were clever, but brutal. I think that's pretty accurate to it. Another thing that actually surprised me too, and I think a lot of people will probably know it, the environments are very intriguing. Or more specifically, the environments have a lot of love and care into them. That's why the puzzles really stuck out, because of the environments. The environments changed up the game a lot, and they were properly moody, fitting, and they kept changing its game all the time. Yeah, the environments were pretty neat. I have to admit that too. Okay, it's been 17 minutes. Alright, so the last two positives, and my gosh, this will be a short one. I like the main theme song. The missing is it's very relevant, and it's very symbolic of JJ's transformation to be a fully independent individual. I think the missing is pretty one of the highlights. It's kind of one of the best songs for this type of situation. And that's that. I think I have to acknowledge that. Okay, so what is the last positive that I have? Oh yeah, alright, last positive. And then we'll end it here. It was the collectibles, or the extra content from the gallery. You know what? I'm going to show you. I'm going to actually show you. I don't have to show you, but I'm going to show you the extra content. But I think it's worth... I think it was pretty much well done. I think it was actually really well done in terms of it wasn't really DLC, and that's what I appreciate. This is something that you earned.
Oh. Hmm? What's over there? What's over there?
Yeah, so I'll show you pretty much the cheat codes. The extra contact is it's rewarding, and it feels like you earn something. You can fast forward your messages. You can move fast, as you can see me doing, which is freaking great and very useful for this type of game, because JJ just moving slow really sucked. You can change your character's costume all day. You can see through walls. There's actually pretty much, when we find out what JJ actually looks like, we get to see that. There's force head injury, and it goes on. There's so great content. And the fact that you can play music too, like just throughout the whole game, that's pretty much a plus. You can see behind the scenes of concept art of what JJ was going to originally look like before they decided on this. But yeah, it's just absolutely great content. And I like how basically when you collect all the donuts, yeah, I like, you know why the text messages are great to collect, and I always look forward to them, because because the more donuts you pretty much collect, the more text messages you get context of JJ's backstory. That's really clever, and it gives you incentive to look at all the donuts, because you want to know JJ more, and you want to know JJ's relationship with other people. How intimate were they? What's the relevance of it? Basically just everything in a sense. And it's the fact that basically there are they are kind of like more advanced puzzles to get these donuts. Plus, yeah, I think I have a sweet tooth, so of course I was more inclined to get donuts. I like donuts. But just the fact that the donuts are really hard to obtain because they are just like souped up puzzles to get them, it's a highlight. I like the challenge. I like the challenge to get these donuts. They're not like super hard, but it's exciting to get these donuts to elect like these really interesting cheats and extra content. And plus the gallery and also too. I very much enjoyed that. I think the extra content is really well done. I don't think games need to do this type of format going forward, but I was not really disappointed with. No, I really wasn't disappointed with the extra content. I think they did very well. It was very compelling. It was rewarding. It was challenging to an aspect, and I like coming back to it. I don't think it's worth replaying it to just do this all again, but it was pretty freaking great. I'm trying to think of anything else in terms of the positive. I know this is one of my short ones, but I kind of wanted to get into the point. So yeah, I think 8 out of 10 is a very appropriate. If it wasn't for the gameplay oddities, just that one, and pretty much a few glitches, and the pretty much grating voice acting, probably would have gave it a 9. But no, 8 out of 10. I think that's pretty appropriate. I think I like it. Don't get me wrong. What I just pretty much described, and even though it's short, I freaking liked it. Yeah, I actually liked it. And I like how it ended too. It was just like, it was brutal and very depressing, but there was also uplifting too. So yeah, ending was pretty fitting. I think that's pretty much it. So let's go return to the title, and that's pretty much it. No, there's no other positive. This one's pretty short but sweet. This is going to be a game that no one is definitely going to play. It's a hard sell to convince you to play this game because it has trigger warnings, very serious trigger warnings. Now, even I say rent this or just watch my YouTube video about this. But yeah, this one's a hard sell because of the suicide and the kind of like very personal look of being transgender. This one, it's tough. It's tough. So of course you can leave that like, comment, or subscribe. As for me, what is going to be the schedule? I am probably going to just take a break for a good while. Not like for a long time, but maybe a few days. I think I accomplished a lot. I pretty much completed Devil May Cry 5. Now I'm just kind of playing. I'm playing it, like, just catch up. This one, I did everything I could on this one. 90% out of 100%. I can live with. Okay, so, as I like to say, and have a good morning, have a good afternoon, have a good evening, and stay tuned for more content. And we're finally done.